It was a great, great story.
We have a new era in boxing.
Mike Tyson at that time was RoboCop.
He's by far one of the most compelling figures we've ever had.
I don't care about living or dying.
He was used as the vessel for other people's desires.
You'd think they were struggling for control of a country.
It's very difficult to fight when you're in that kind of situation.
He was very, very insecure. I'm not going to change my way for nobody.
He could never control his emotion.
People don't realize what goes on in a fighter's mind.
He should have went down as the greatest heavyweight ever.
Just Mike, you know, man, I'm a peasant, man. I'm here to entertain the people. I'm no elite person or anything, even though sometimes you may think I am, because at one stage I have my little jewelry and all my little girlfriends and my big cars and everything, but I realized as life goes on, and at one point I thought life was about acquiring anything. I was explaining this before, but as I get older, life is totally about losing everything, because as life goes on, we lose more than we acquire.
The puzzle of who is and what is Mike Tyson, you know, to me, I could tell you what the Sphinx is all about a lot faster than I could tell you what Mike Tyson's all about.
Mike Tyson was once the richest, best-known athlete in the world, yet he remains the hardest to understand.
There's a lot of mythology that surrounds Mike Tyson.
He was always a guy that physically and technically, when he was going good, was awesome. But he was also a guy that was always very hollow.
Well, there were several conflicts in Mike's life. Most of them from outside, which he couldn't deal with well.
This guy was gold. He was gold. And then his whole career just started to slide down.
If you come from where he was when he was 8, 11, 14, how could you expect that person to have become so self-possessed as to control his life?
Mike Tyson grew up in Brownsville, Brooklyn, one of the toughest neighborhoods in New York. After being sent upstate to a reform school at age 13, he was brought to Cus D'Amato, a legendary boxing trainer.
And I could see by the difficulty you had before, you weren't accustomed to using your legs properly.
It was like it must have been at Sutter's Mill in California when some guy saw this glinting stuff in the stream, and he said, you know, that could be gold.
Mike began to learn everything about boxing, and everything that Cus knew, Mike wanted to know.
This way, touch him here. That's what you're aiming at here.
There was no more ardent student of boxing history and boxers that I knew of than Mike Tyson.
He went professional at just 18 and won his first 19 fights by knockout. Before Mike had a shot at the title, Cus D'Amato passed away. But 1 year later, on November 22nd, 1986, Mike fulfilled his dream, knocking out Trevor Berbick to become the youngest heavyweight champion in the history of boxing.
He had the world on a string, had all the money he needed, even though he still slept on my couch. Beautiful women, dating all the time.
And then there was Robin Gibbons.
Mike Tyson had seen Robin Gibbons on television. He was very taken by her beauty.
Gibbons was everything Mike was not: educated, sophisticated, a budding young actress. But Robin was part of a package deal.
Anybody who was around knows Tyson was married as much to his mother-in-law as he was to his wife.
Before the honeymoon was over, Mike and Robin's marriage was on the ropes.
They wanted to control Michael. And they only wanted to control Michael for as long as they could set up a situation where this is a sick guy, why should my daughter be married to him? He needs help, and by the way, we'll take half the money.
What's it been like, this roller coaster?
It's been torture. It's been pure hell.
After just 8 months, Mike's dream marriage had ended in humiliation. Don King, the flamboyant and ever-present promoter, swooped in.
Don was a man on a mission. Now that mother-in-law and the wife were out of the picture, it was King's chance to move in.
It wasn't more than 6 or 8 months between the time when Mike was totally cocooned in that effective system and when he became an utterly free man, capable of making every mistake known to man and having every excuse continually made for him.
All right,
When Tyson and King arrived in Tokyo in January of 1990 to defend Tyson's title against underdog Buster Douglas, no one, including the challenger himself, expected Tyson to have any trouble.
Mike Tyson worked out in Tokyo. You had 1,000 people from the media, flash bulbs, TV cameras, everything. Now Buster Douglas worked out 10 minutes later in the same spot. 3 reporters stayed for Buster Douglas's workout. And I'll never forget, Douglas looked at the ground and he said, man, I just hope I can make it through the first round.
As soon as the first round began, I saw that Mike had no confidence.
He walks into the ring and I say, he's not in shape. He is not in shape.
Good balance, his legs together as Buster's landing these. Oh, nice uppercut by Buster Douglas. Look at this. He's knocked Mike Tyson down for the first time.
It was like the earth had been pulled from its axis in boxing.
And then suddenly, if you looked up Vincible in the dictionary, you'd find Mike Tyson's picture there after this fight. I mean, it is a traumatic experience.
Out of the ring, things weren't much better. Without his wife, his title, or any of the people who helped build him up, Mike Tyson slid into an abyss of harassment lawsuits, assault charges, and eventually, a conviction for the rape of an 18-year-old beauty contestant.
We've seen so many times recently where it doesn't matter what a superstar does, it's okay. He can brag about it in his books, he can demonstrate it in the public eye, and as long as it's him, it's all right.
After spending 3 years in prison, Mike was no longer the feared heavyweight he once was.
Boxers who are well along the way and go to jail, they're nothing when they come out generally. Now Mike Tyson became fair game for everybody.
So how do you mask that? Mask it by living bigger and better all the time. Spend more money. Buy more Bentleys. Be on more magazine covers. Become a bigger and bigger and bigger public icon. With all of that, maybe you could mask the fact that you were gradually slipping as a fighter.
By the time he fought Lennox Lewis in his final title bout in 2002, those who knew boxing knew Mike Tyson didn't have a chance.
I will never watch that fight because I want to remember Mike Tyson as the great fighter he was.
I just don't have it in me no more. I could beat everything. I just don't believe I could beat Father Time. I don't have the desire and discipline to do this stuff anymore.
I guess he didn't know that his life was no longer his own, that it would be the IRS's agenda, everybody else who had some hold on his bank account at that time. And he would have to go back into the ring against Danny Williams, Clifford Etienne, Kevin McBride, until finally he could sit down and basically say to the world one last time, let me go. I'm done.
But Mike is still trying to fight his way out of debt. 20 years after winning his first championship, he is performing boxing exhibitions to keep himself from becoming yet another tragic boxing story.
I think I'm very useless to society. I don't think I'm worthy of the people to come out and see me, but they do. If I don't get out of these financial quagmires, there's a possibility I may have to be a punching bag for somebody.
His fall is famous, but the reasons are as complex as Mike Tyson himself.
Nobody's gifted. If you was gifted, wow, man, you'd be somebody very special. You'd be a rare person. But you're not gifted. You're never born that way. Some people say they're born that way. They're not born that way.
Mike Tyson overcame incredible odds just to step inside a boxing ring. By the time he was 12, he was involved with street gangs. Chances were, if he ever made it out of Brownsville, Brooklyn, it would be in a prison van or a hearse. After more than a dozen arrests, Mike was sent upstate to the Tryon School for Boys. It was there that he heard about a special program run by a counselor and former professional boxer, Bobby Stewart.
He said, I wanted to come and see Mr. Stewart, I want to work with you, and I wouldn't even hear. I said, all these kids want to be fighters. I said, but they don't have the nerve to work and stuff like that, and stay out of trouble. You can't be in trouble and be a fighter. But I said, let's see your behavior. Let's see how things happen. Well, 2 weeks go by, and not a problem.
Mike turned himself around. He went from a 4th to a 7th grade reading level in 3 months, and he practiced boxing every chance he could.
And the third shift staff would tell me, write me notes, leave me notes. The next day, I said, Bob, we got to do something with this kid. Last it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and he said, the kid is still practicing what you showed him. In the dark, the lights are out. With that work ethic, he would have succeeded at whatever he took up.
Mike Tyson was still only 13 years old, But Stewart knew he would have to find someone to take Mike to the next level. He arranged to take him off the school grounds to meet the legendary boxing trainer, Cus D'Amato, at his gym above the police station in nearby Catskill, New York.
So then Bobby calls up Cus, says, I got a guy that you got to take a look at, and that's Mike Tyson. So they start sparring. Bobby kicks the heck out of him, but Tyson takes it the whole way.
Tyson was obviously trying to impress us. He understood what was at stake. He wanted to ace his audition.
So after, like, was 2 rounds, Cus says, I've seen enough.
Mike said, oh, no. He says, Mr. Stewart says, we got to go 3 rounds. If you start, you got to finish. So we went the 3rd round. I walked in the corner. Cus was taking my gloves off. I said, what do you think?
And Cus says, this is the next heavyweight champion in the world.
But despite D'Amato's prediction, the odds were still against Tyson. D'Amato was a successful trainer, having produced 2 world champions. But for a boy who had accomplished nothing at this point in his life, it was a long shot at best.
Most of our kids didn't end up going to places like that, you know, they ended up going in the wrong direction, probably 80% of them. This kid is making it, going to make it, hopefully.
He was very raw. He didn't know much. He didn't know how to fight. But you could see the physicality. You could see the clay that could be worked with.
Only Cus D'Amato had the vision of what Mike could be. There wasn't one trainer, not one professional boxer, who saw Mike in the amateurs and said, wow, that guy's going to be the next great heavyweight champion. No one, except Cus.
Now, I knew there were a lot of occasions when Cus D'Amato was full of crap. But when he would talk about something like this, he meant it. The only question was he right? And boy, was he right.
When Mike was released from Tryon just after his 14th birthday, D'Amato arranged to have Mike live with him and several other boxers in a large house he shared with his companion, Camille Ewald.
I brought him down to Cus's house, and the first time he saw the house, he said, what am I going to do here? This is where you stay. He says, what am I going to do, take the garbage out? I said, probably. I said, there's things you're going to have chores to do, just like the other kids do. And he looked, he couldn't believe it at first. He gave us a hug again and stuff, and he said, just remember, it's up to you, nobody else. Work, and I always had to be the tough guy, you know, or try to be. And that's where it started.
I was living there, and he wouldn't say nothing. Mike would just watch all the old fights, watch them all, then talk to Cus, or Cus would talk to him.
Over the next 4 years, Mike was in the gym, training every day, absorbing everything that Cus and his crew would teach him. He proved to be an apt pupil.
He had physical ability, but he had to be taught how to use it. I was there with him every day. He depended on me to teach him technique.
He was killing the sparring partners, and I couldn't believe the ferocity of this guy.
Mike comes out, boom, 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 throws a combination, boom, 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 boom. The guy goes like this. He puts up his hands. So, nope. And climbs right out of the ring, and walked right out that door. Didn't even look to get paid. He walked right out.
After blasting through the amateur ranks, Mike turned pro at 18. Cus brought in his friends, Jim Jacobs and Bill Caton, to be Mike's managers. To better the odds of Mike's ascension, they lined up a steady stream of carefully selected opponents. His first pro fight against Hector Mercedes lasted less than 1 round.
It made for a spectacular highlight reel. It was like a cartoon. I mean, guys were flipping through the air and flying onto their backs, and, you know, it was just amazing to watch.
By the time Cus D'Amato died in 1985, Tyson was well on his way to the title. He spent the next few years sweeping up all 3 Boxing Association titles, fighting all comers until only one challenger remained. Michael Spinks, 10 years older than Tyson, also undefeated. Their fight would be the richest in boxing history.
Mike's aura of menace suffused Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City. There was a delay before the fight because Spinks didn't want to come out of his dressing room.
Butch Lewis, who's Spinks' manager, went, as you would go into in every championship fight, the dressing room of your opponent, to watch their hands being wrapped.
I had just finished taping his hands, and so Butch Lewis tried to make a thing about it.
Which so aggravated Mike, who was already on edge, that he threw his hand out through a wall.
Spinks had heard that, and that it was the sound of Mike punching the hole through the wall which had prompted Michael to be reticent about coming into the ring.
You can see he was like a little nervous. And then what happened, happened. I mean, he just destroyed him.
Here comes Mike Spinks in. He leads to the right hand. Down he goes. I don't think he'll get up from this. Mike Spinks is laying flat on his back. The count is up to 5, and 6, and 7, and 8. He won't be able to do it. It's all over.
The Michael Spinks fight was devastating. He had taken out an undefeated, 90 seconds?
Mike had beaten the odds and fulfilled Customato's prophecy. He was an incredible 35-0, the undefeated, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. But in boxing, that's a difficult place to stay. Now Mike was surrounded by money and celebrity, formidable opponents for a 21-year-old kid who 8 years earlier didn't even have a dream to his name.
There's a famous quote in boxing history, I think it was Jack Dempsey, that it's hard to get up at 5 a.m. and go out and run through the snow when you're wearing silk underwear. That's what happened to Mike Tyson.
January 1990, Mike Tyson and Don King, his new manager and promoter, arrived in Tokyo, Japan to fight Buster Douglas. Few considered Douglas a worthy opponent for Tyson.
I have to be in the best shape that I have ever been in to be able to do all the things that it will take to defeat Mike.
One of the boxing writers, Ed Scholar from the AP, was going through customs in Japan, and the Japanese official said, "How long will you be in Tokyo, sir?" And he said, "I don't know, a round or two."
I never look at anybody fight. Because I'm confident no one can beat me, and I don't have to watch them fight.
They thought that Buster Douglas was, just a clown, a tomato can.
But he was about 6'4". He was athletic. He could move. He could jab. And in the first minute of the fight, suddenly it was apparent, there's a style problem here.
My girlfriend said, starts rooting for Douglas. I said, wait a minute, no. Don't root for Douglas. I want Mike to win this fight.
2/3 of the way through the 8th round, he came off the ropes with a punch from hell.
The referee began counting. 2, 3, 4. Mike, great performance. You got a tough time, but you won and you're still heavyweight champion. Now Douglas is on the floor. 9. The guy gets up at 9.99. What makes him get up at 9.99? Then go back out. And a round later, knock out Mike Tyson. Now, that's fate.
3 years and 2 months after overcoming incredible odds to win the heavyweight title, the odds had already caught up with Mike Tyson. His future was anyone's guess.
I love boxing too, and I like doing it for myself. But I feel so bad, like if anything go wrong, when I look sloppy, so many people that, help me and everything to get me up here, and I just don't want to let them down.
Mike Tyson faced the streets of New York without a father to guide or protect him. Mike has spent the rest of his life going from mentor to mentor, trying to fulfill that role.
Before Mike met Cuss, it's really tough to say if there was anyone in Mike's life that gave him that consideration, that care, that loving, that great deal of effort to say, I want to make you better.
What made it so beautiful at that point was Tyson was an incredible pupil. So what Cuss taught him, which was legitimate, stayed with him.
Custamato wrapped Mike in a cocoon of stability and structure and gave him the strong paternal influence his life had lacked. Inside the D'Amato system, Tyson thrived.
As a teenage boy, he matriculates in a situation where everything is about supporting him, focusing him on the one thing that Custamato and his surrogates know that Mike can do, which is to fight.
We would come to the gym every day. Cuss only gave off Christmas Day. If you're around Custamato, if you don't learn anything, well, then you're an idiot. And Tyson learned. Cuss turned him around.
Mike, it's like catching a ball. The guy throws a hard ball at you, and you catch in your hands. You go like this here, you break the force of the blow, right? Same with that. The punches come from here, you're moving with it. Even if he hits you, you're moving with it.
The Mike Tyson of 1984 was a billion miles away from the Mike Tyson who met Custamato in 1980. That was 5 years of Custamato tutelage. That person was a young, terrific young kid.
Mike was also developing into a terrific boxer. Cuss kept him on a rigorous fighting schedule, facing opponents every few weeks.
Hey, Cuss, 8-second knockout in the first round. 8-second knockout. Yeah.
Cus D'Amato wasn't just a guy that showed you how to jab, how to slip a punch. He knew that every fighter has fear and you have to control fear. If you believed in what he preached, well, it certainly served Mike Tyson very well.
Keep him busy, and that's the one thing that Cus said. If you don't keep him busy, he's going to get in trouble. Cus said that.
Mike was carefully and calculatingly taught by Cus that Cus would not be there forever. You've got great people around you. You'll trust them. You'll find that they love you like I do, and you'll be fine.
On November 4th, 1985, the man Mike looked to for guidance passed on.
When Cus died, I was coming out of the hospital and Tyson was coming in. And I told Mike about Cus. I started to cry right away.
As Cuss had planned, the team around Mike protected him and kept him focused on fulfilling Cuss's prophecy that he would become heavyweight champion of the world. 1 year later, against WBC champion Trevor Berbick, Mike finally got his chance.
He couldn't disappoint himself. He couldn't disappoint Cuss. He couldn't permit anybody else to intrude on this journey he was on.
Yeah, I definitely knew he was going to win that fight. When I was the fighter, I was a left hooker. And that's why I started, I used to tell Mike, throw the left hook, throw the left hook, throw the left hook.
Berbick is down.
And when he hit Berbick with that shot and knocked him down 3 times, I was like, whoa, if you could even see me coming, and I was like, wow, I was smiling and everything, because that was, to me, that was awesome. I mean, boom. Really, that fight was for Cus, because, he won the title.
I'd like to dedicate my fight to my great guardian, Cus D'Amato, and I'm sure he's up there and he's looking and he's talking to all the great fighters and saying his boy did it. He's smiling.
Everybody came in, everybody was surrounding him, including Don King. If you ever watch any fights, any heavyweight fights, that Don King is the promoter, he always puts his face with the winner.
Don King, the renowned boxing promoter, was aware that Cuss's death left a void in Mike's life. After biding his time, he made his move.
Don King had the habit of talking to fighters, and I thought that he went to Tyson.
Tyson was waiting for someone like Don King. If he went out and played in the street, and everybody knows there's a tank coming a block and a half away, all these people would come running and say, get up, get out of the street, you're gonna get killed, you're gonna get killed. Don King would say, you do what you wanna do, it's okay, you've earned your own freedom, do what you want. Then King shoots down a side street, runs, stops the tank. He never told Mike Tyson no.
King would, slip him 10,000, 20,000, and then he'll bill him.
Don had Mike, and that was the end of our relationship with Mike Tyson.
Oh, man, hallelujah. Oh, free at last, thank God Almighty, he's free at last.
King's words couldn't be more ironic. With Tyson all to himself, King employed his own methods of fathering, a sharp contrast to the regimented guidance Cuss and his team had provided.
Somewhere he lost the focus on boxing. Instead of running 8 miles, he ran 2. Instead of sparring, 8 rounds, he might spar 3.
His life now was at least equally about the things he was doing outside the gym, as opposed to the monastic lifestyle which had brought him to that point.
I don't know if it was having too much money, having too many Lamborghinis, having too many women. It was a case of having too much of everything.
The effect of the distractions in Mike's life became evident in Tokyo, where Tyson would defend his title against Buster Douglas.
He had to take off like 20 pounds 2 weeks before the fight. I said to myself. I said, he's been out there doing the party thing, so he got his butt whooped.
The world had changed. Mike Tyson was not, sitting atop his throne anymore. His whole life was in disarray.
What Mike needed now was a strong father figure to help turn things around. Unfortunately, what he had was Don King.
King was more like an uncle to him, an indulgent uncle with his favorite nephew.
Mike's life devolved into a sordid, angry world of lawsuits, assault charges, and eventually, in 1992, his conviction for the rape of a beauty pageant contestant.
Everything he does is not on the sports page anymore. It's on the front page.
Hopes that 3 years of jail might encourage Mike to turn over a new leaf lasted as long as it took Mike to step out of jail and into Don King's limousine. King made millions on Mike's comeback, making sure his route to the title was the path of least resistance.
Now let it be known he didn't look like the Mike Tyson of old, but some of his opponents were human bowling pins.
When I wrapped Mike Tyson in a cocoon of horror,
Despite the lackluster competition, Don King was making Mike Tyson the richest boxer in history. On paper,
Don believes in one color, and it's called green. And whatever he can make off Mike, he does.
Don King was trying to protect the best interests of Don King in his relationship with Mike Tyson.
Disagreements over money finally caused Mike Tyson and Don King to part ways, with Tyson suing King for $100 million, despite having earned more than $300 million over the course of his career. In 2003, Mike Tyson filed for bankruptcy.
It all goes back to King. King controls the promotion, controls the money. He always shortchanged the fighter.
What Don had did to financially really was a horrible financial pitfall for Mike. So he's in that hole, and he's going to stay in that hole.
With the loss of D'Amato and now King, Mike Tyson once again found himself as fatherless and alone as he had been as a child.
I like being a little arrogant. That's the way I am. I've always been that way. A little bit spoiled. It's not, I don't bother nobody. Nobody bothers me. They won't have any, say-so about it.
Since his childhood, Mike Tyson has always wrestled with the rules of society, even when protected in the custody of Cus D'Amato.
There's stories that he had problems in the school, and he did have a problem in the school, because some teacher, was like being too bossy to him or whatever, and Mike, turned over a table or something.
Mike was not exactly growing up in a suburb of New Jersey, which was very nice and calm and peaceful. Mike was a bad kid.
It was being said that he was basically pushing girls in the hallway, off into the bathroom and, having his way or trying to have his way. And things were getting out of control. And apparently Cus was aware of a lot of it.
Mike Tyson could break 8 rules and stay in the house in Catskill. Joe Jones might break 1 or 2 rules and have to hit the highway.
I was very angry at Cus for allowing this to happen, because I felt that they were being tolerable with this, and maybe they didn't realize what it was going to lead to.
It was always a tenuous thread. The connection between the kid from Brownsville, who was not civilized, and the civilized world in which he needed to function to accomplish what they wanted to accomplish.
That's it. See, ain't no way he's going to hit you then, right? And remember, it's always good to throw the punch where you could hit him and he can't hit you. That's what the science of boxing is all about.
I think Cus loved Tyson, in a way. Cus just wanted to preserve this one shot to prove the whole world was wrong. The whole world is wrong. I haven't lost it.
Social graces, social development, any additional education to develop his personality and made Mike Tyson a smoother guy. It just never happened.
He was a child who had to be nurtured and taken care of, or else all hell was going to break loose.
As his entrance into adulthood coincided with his entrance into fame and celebrity, Mike found himself ill-equipped to deal with the pressures of his new lifestyle. most notably in his relationships with women.
He always felt that, the women who were coming after him, and he was right about 99.9%, were only coming after him because now he's heavyweight champion. Now he's got plenty of money.
He needed someone or something to serve as a mooring, as a touchstone in his life, to make him feel whole. Along came Robin Givens.
He'd seen this raving beauty on television. She had a measure of fame. Mike felt that she had a genuine love for him.
I thought if Mike gets married, it would make him more calm. He'd have the family he always wanted. Robin's a superstar, not like she needs the money.
But even as newlyweds, their relationship was anything but normal. Robin came as a package deal, and her mother, Ruth Rover, moved in with them. Suddenly, there was a new team calling the shots.
Givens and really the mother, they just turned it, they just flipped his head.
She told Bill and Jim she's Mrs. Mike Tyson, and she's taking over.
Things just started to unravel. I remember they called me up and they wanted me to train Tyson in the mansion he had in New Jersey. And I said, no, I want him to stay here in Custer's gym. Because, Custer's spirit, as far as I'm concerned, is in this gym. Tyson always did that, but at this point in time, all of a sudden, he became a prima donna.
I want to see him in Atlantic City. We're talking about different things that Cuss did, how crazy he acted, and this and that. And then suddenly he turns to me and he says, it used to be fun then. Now all it is about the money, the money, the money. Used to be fun. There's nobody in the world I can talk to. And then he leans forward and puts his head on my chest and he starts to cry. But I don't mean sob. He starts to cry. Now, you got to remember, he's just gotten married. He's got a mother-in-law who is omnipresent. The women now are ready to make a big move.
The maneuvering intensified, and the consequences were explosive. Mike began to show the rage that until now had been reserved for the boxing ring.
Mike. Everything hits the fan during the Barbara Walters show.
In an exclusive primetime interview with Barbara Walters, Robin dropped a bomb that would send shockwaves across the country.
Michael is a manic depressive. He is. I mean, that's just a fact.
Why do you think this is that nobody saw it before? The Customato didn't see it.
I can't imagine that anyone could live with Mike Tyson and not recognize that there was a problem.
So why wasn't it treated?
I think he did exceptionally well in the ring. And the way that they chose to handle it was to keep him in the ring.
Why embarrass Mike in front of the entire world? The easiest thing in the world to realize is that if Mike himself says on TV he's ill mentally, this sets the stage for Robin to do whatever she wants to do, to end the marriage and go on her own way.
I guess the illness is there and it has to be taken care of.
It all culminated with this big blow-up at the mansion in Bernardsville, where Mike Tyson supposedly took the instruments that go with the fireplace and threw them around. Suffice to say that the next moves were made by the divorce lawyers.
After Robin Givens left him, Tyson's relationships with women started down a dangerous course.
He goes to judge a beauty contest in Indianapolis.
Mike was invited to the 1991 Indiana Black Expo, joining Jesse Jackson and other honored guests at a cultural celebration of African American achievement. The centerpiece of the event was the annual Miss Black America pageant.
By the time he gets to Indianapolis, Mike is on his own. There's nobody there to help him. But Mike does what Mike does. And Mike is attracted by women. And they, in turn, ex-heavyweight champion at this time, are attracted by him.
Mike stayed only 2 days, but in his wake, he left a trail of accusations that would change his life for years to come. 2 contestants would file harassment lawsuits, one for $100 million. The organizer of the event sued him for $21 million, claiming he had groped 10 different contestants, and one contestant, 18-year-old Desiree Washington, and accused Mike Tyson of rape.
I love women, my mother's a woman, I respect them as well. And of course, every time I trust one to get involved with one in a certain way like this, something happens, so I'm confused. I'm just lost from the whole issue that happened today.
Fair play is really all we want, a level playing field.
The trial began a public debate on Mike Tyson, especially when Mike's defense lawyers invoked his troubles with women as his defense, portraying him as an aggressive womanizer so notorious that Washington had to have known what she was getting into.
The legal decision to put Mike on the stand was absolutely crazy to do, to say that he does this to all the women he sees. It's something that never should have transpired.
I don't know what happened in that hotel room in Indianapolis. Only Mike Tyson and the woman that was involved, they're the only two people on the planet that know what really happened that night.
The Indiana jury, however, was convinced that Tyson was guilty of rape. He was sentenced to 6 years in an Indiana correctional facility.
For the first time, Mike was held accountable for his actions. Up to this point, nobody had ever held him accountable.
Tyson earned an early release for good behavior, but he returned to a world where he was no longer welcomed as a hero.
Now Mike would be walking down the street after these instances, and instead of hearing people say, wow, there goes Mike Tyson, the great, he's so fantastic, he says, now he hears negative things. In any situation where Mike was under pressure, there was no stability anymore. There was no deep inner belief that he had to control himself.
Finally, Mike began acting out in the one world where he had always respected the rules, the sport of boxing.
And you think I give a damn about you and then y'all? I don't care about living or dying. I'm a dysfunctional motherfucker. That's the white boy, I'm gonna kill you. And he's kind of big. He makes me nervous without his gloves and his shorts on. So if you ever try to intimidate me again, I'm gonna implant a bullet in his motherfucking skull. And I'm just tired of it. I really don't even want to fight no more. I'm just tired of all this, really. Because I'm in pain. I want them to see pain. I want their kids to see pain. Lennox Lewis, I want his kids to, oh, Daddy, are you okay, Daddy? Yeah, I don't care about them because they don't care about me and my kids.
Mike, by now, has begun not to like boxing, if not hate it. And a fight between Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield is actually made.
I was in the ring the night Evander Holyfield's ear was at my feet.
Tyson was winning the fight, in my opinion, and then then Holyfield was going after him and headbutted him, so Tyson got a cut. So now they come together again, and Holyfield dips down and comes up with his head, aiming for the eye. So Tyson goes, oh yeah, he bites the ear. And Mills Lane says, you do that again, and I'm gonna disqualify you.
Mike couldn't take the pressure of being under that spotlight, knowing that everybody hates him, that he's disliked, coming from where he did, of being a hero and a champion.
So they come together again, and Tyson, now the first time he ripped Holyfield's ear off. This time, he just nibbles on the ear. Holyfield turns around and goes to the right, he just bit me again.
He doesn't even want to be in that situation. He doesn't want to even be in the ring. He wants a way out.
I really think if Mills Lane had not stopped the fight after the second bite, I think Tyson would have bitten him.
Mike was fined $3 million and suspended from boxing, officially polluting the last place he had held in high esteem.
People treat me well, I treat them well. But I'm not gonna, change my ways for nobody. That's how I am, I'm gonna stay that way. I don't care who they are.
Mike Tyson's life offers plenty of explanations for his downfall. Odds so great, they were bound to catch up with him. The death or desertion of anyone he trusted to give him guidance in his life. An inability to function within the rules of society. But perhaps what brought Mike Tyson down was a conflict deep within himself. One that he could never overcome.
In Brownsville, he used to hide in between vacant walls. And in some ways, he was always that kid.
He was very, very insecure. So insecure, he would not look you in the face or look you in the eye and talk to you.
I started becoming very versed with him, very aware of some of his shadows. Some of the wolves that bark at everybody's door.
Now remember, anytime you feel tension, motion. Remember? Motion relieves tension. So you feel tense, just shadow box.
People don't realize what goes on in a young fighter's mind. A lot of doubt, a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. We were in Denver, Colorado at the National Junior Olympic Championships, and Tyson started putting things in perspective a little bit at that moment. I have something that's good, and I have to win this fight. If I don't win it, I won't have it anymore. And all of a sudden, he just started crying.
Look, just relax, Michael, relax, just relax. Just relax. Relax. Yeah, but just relax. Just relax.
I'm only first started.
Yeah, well, just relax.
If you have the roots that he had, a boy who literally wept prior to going in and knocking out some poor amateur opponent in 20 seconds because he was frightened of the experience, how could you expect that person to have become so self-possessed as to control his life?
He never really believed in himself the way that you would think that it should be for a guy with that much ability and with that much accomplishment.
He wanted to show the world that nothing lasts, that you will eventually be abandoned. No matter how much money you make, no matter how much fame you achieve, no matter how great you're seen to be, ultimately you will be destroyed. I think that Mike believed that, knew that from the beginning, and unconsciously constructed it throughout his whole career.
234.5 for Iron Mike Tyson.
The anticipated end came in 2002, 16 years after Mike Tyson won his first world title. Now, deep in debt, Mike Tyson's final championship fight was less a shot at the title than an opportunity to get out of boxing.
Mike Tyson was going to fight Lennox Lewis. And in this major presentation, they bring out Mike Tyson. And now,
Lennox Lewis!
Tyson gets off his and marches over to Lewis. And it's out of control. It made the ear-biting incident almost look civilized.
I'm saying to myself, this is beyond a freak show. I'm looking at the dark side of the moon. I don't know what I'm seeing here.
That was Mike Tyson, just devolving and devolving.
Doesn't matter what I say, it doesn't affect you guys, because your guys don't care about nothing but money. So every now and then I kick your and stomp on you and put some kind of pain, inflict some kind of pain on you, because you deserve to feel the pain, somewhat of the pain that I feel.
What I witnessed during that period was the last public persona of a tortured soul.
Even then, at the end of his career, make no mistake about it, that was, whatever happened afterwards is a footnote. Mike Tyson, interestingly enough, was the attraction for that fight, not Lennox.
The night of the Lewis fight, June 8, 2002, Lennox routinely destroyed Mike, as I had expected and told everybody would be the case.
He wanted to get knocked out. He didn't want to run out of the ring because then he's a coward. He wanted to get knocked out, and he kept coming forward. He threw no punches.
That was the cynical fight that all these great champions, or most of them, wind up having. Tyson knew it was going to be a beatdown, and so did Lennox Lewis.
Listen to me. You're fighting for the heavyweight championship again. You understand? Not many people can do that. You understand? Now look, I'm not going to sit out there and just let you do this. You understand? You have to throw your punches. You understand? For God's sake, you have two hands. You understand? Just let your hands go. Yes, you can. No, let your hands go.
And the last we saw of Mike Tyson in his real career was lying there, almost in a quasi-crucifixion scene, bloodied and out.
After the fight, I stepped into the dressing room, and here was Mike sitting alone on a chair in the center of the room with a baby on his lap. And then he looked up at me, and he said, "I missed you." Now, he wasn't saying that he missed me personally. He was saying, I think, that he missed being the Mike Tyson he had been, that he missed being the Mike Tyson who was devoted to his craft, that most of all, he missed not being a fraud.
But the Lewis fight didn't free him. Mired in bankruptcy, Mike returns to the ring today, not for cuss, not for a title, but to pay the bills.
It's hard for me to fight, you know. Me starting out, you have to understand, I'm from Brownsville, Brooklyn. I had nothing. You have to look, I have wealthy children. I'm broke, but my children are wealthy and they have a great life. It's very difficult to fight when you're in that kind of situation.
And so the career of one of our greatest sports heroes will end not with a bang, but with a whimper.
People, their memories are short. What they have to remember, he was 35-0 with 31 knockouts. 19 in the first round. Now that's awesome. Mike Tyson should have went down as the greatest heavyweight ever.
Never in history has there been an athlete for whom so many excuses have been made to explain away shortcomings, to explain away defeat, as is the case for Mike. But at the end of the day, Mike's career is a graphic reflection of who he was and what he wanted. He wanted to self-destruct.